ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम्। आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। दक्षिणे लक्ष्मणो यस्य वामे च जनकात्मजाः पुरतो मारुतिर्यस्य तं वन्दे रघुनन्दनम्। As the story of the Ramayana continues and moves forward, the tension is heightening as to what will happen next. What did the Vanaras, headed by Sri Ramachandra, Lakshmana, Sugriva, what did they do? What was Ravana thinking? What did he say and do with his council of ministers? And each time the story moves, or which each episode, the story moves a little forward, and then we are held in suspense until the next episode of it. So where we are right now is Sri Ramachandra as the leader with Sugriva. So Valmiki says, Nara Vanara Raja Rajav. So Sugriva, along with Sri Ramachandra, Lakshmana, Hanuman, Jambavan, Angada, Sharabha, Sushena, etc., all of them, Mainda, Dvivida, Gaja, Gavaksha, Kumuda, Nala, Panasa, they are the generals. And they have all gathered as Ramachandra is addressing his team of leaders. And he says, you see this Lanka that is protected by Ravana is something that is not easy to enter by the Nagas that live in the lowest region of the universe, or even by the Gandharvas who live in the higher regions of the universe. So now we have to decide how we are going to enter Lanka for the purpose of bringing Sita Devi back. So while this question is posed, because they've decided they're on this side of the ocean, they have decided they're good, but now they need a very tactical plan. Strategy was clear. We need to get to Lanka and bring Sita Devi back. But what's the tactical plan? They just saw that Lanka, that whole region is full of mountains. They are near the Suvela mountain, near, not necessarily at the peak or the summit of it, but at the foothills of Suvela mountain. And from there further on is Lanka, almost hanging or suspended on a Trikuta mountain. So how are we going to get there? What's our plan? As Ramachandra is proposing this and posing this question, Vibhishana steps forward. And he says, oh, Sri Ramachandra, four of my associates that had originally come with me, and this is not exactly what Vibhishana says, but I'm narrating it, that my four followers who had left along with me the company of Ravana, were you ever curious what their names are? It just, Valmiki initially just says four of them left. So we're going to hear the names today. So Vibhishana says Anala, Panasa, Sampati, and Pramati. These are the four of my associates who are very, very loyal to me. They took on the forms of birds and camouflaged themselves within the trees and palace gardens of Ravana, and they were able to hear and find out exactly what Ravana is thinking and speaking about. I want you to know how Ravana, the evil-minded fellow, has organized his generals and his army. He says on the eastern gate, Prahasta has been kept as the commander. And he stands there with Mahaparshva and Mahodara. These two are in the southern gate. So Prahasta is on the eastern gate. Mahaparshva and Mahodara are the southern gates. With thousands and thousands of armies with sharp arrows, powerful pointed spears, and varieties of other weapons, is equipped Indrajit with a massive army who is guarding the western gate of Lanka. Virupaksha, along with thousands of his mighty Rakshasas, holds the central part of the ramparts of Lanka. And my followers keenly observed that the northern gate is guarded by Shukasarana and Ravana himself. And Ravana's army has the strength of elephants. Very, very strong. And he also has 10,000 elephants waiting at the northern gate. Chariots, 10,000. Horses, 20,000. And over 10 million soldiers on foot. That means all four divisions are there. And Prahasta, all of them, is the most beloved to Ravana because he's the one who's always ready to fight. He's the instigator, actually. And so he gives a description of the number of warriors at each gate, led by everybody, and how are we to manage ourselves in such a way that we can break through these defenses of Ravana. And each one of them, Ramachandra, is mighty. They're not weak. In fact, I am requesting you that as you sally forward, please, in your heart, don't feel any type of pessimism or depression or indignation. It's called indignation, like what's the point? Don't feel like that. In fact, I want you to increase your virya, your power and prowess, that your determination is to break through these defenses of Ravana. And you have a fantastic Vanara army who's all ready, and they can fight against these elephants and chariots and horses and soldiers. So please, Ramachandra, give us the orders. So Ramachandra said to the Vanara generals, okay, I would like Neela, who's like a bull among monkeys, take his group of Vanaras and fight against Prahasta on the eastern gate. Then Angada, the son of Vali, the mighty Vali, with his group of monkeys, of his group of Vanaras, that army should go and fight with Mahaparshva and Mahodara at the southern gate. On the western gate, where Indrajit is, I want Hanuman to go with his group and go and fight with Indrajit. As far as the northern gate is concerned, where Ravana is there, Lakshmana and I, personally, we have a certain equation with Ravana that we have to go. So we will go and fight with Ravana on the northern gate. In fact, I will force myself into the northern gate where Ravana himself is being there. Sugriva, Jambavan, Vibhishana, all of you go to the central post, and you fight from there. But I know each of these Vanaras, Vibhishana, you as well, have the power to change your form. So try not to do that, especially Vanaras, because I want to be able to see the Vanaras. I don't want to see you in human form, because that's the only way we can distinguish between you and the Rakshasa army, because they also seem human-like. And we don't want that confusion, because in the frenzy of fighting, we should be able to distinguish who's our team and who's not our team. So let the Vanara form be the very, very special distinctive mark, he says. Sangyaha yuddhe asmin vanare bale esha bhavatunaha. So let this be our main token, that this is our uniform. We be in the Vanara forms, so that we will recognize the only four people who will remain or will have human-like forms. Ahameva sahabhrata Lakshmanena mahojasa. So myself and Lakshmana. Atmana panchamaschaya sakha mama Vibhishana. Vibhishana himself will also be in the human form along with his four associates. So five of them and three of us, not four, eight of us. I'm sorry, five of them, the two of us. We will be in human-like form. Now, having given this order, they looked at the Suvela mountain. Ramachandra said, let's go. And this entire army started climbing towards the peak of the Suvela mountain. As they walked, they were becoming even more determined and strong and inspired and ready as they are scaling up the Suvela mountain, and they reach the peak of it. When they reach the peak, from there they can see Lanka. So Ramachandra spoke to Sugriva, Vibhishana, who are very learned, are excellent advisors. And Ramachandra said to them, let's from here on, let's go and start how we will fight with Ravana. Every time I hear his name, Ravana, mentioned within me, arouses a very, very strong sense of anger. That fellow Ravana has absolutely no regard of any concept of virtue. I don't think he understood what virtue really means. He has absolutely no sense of morality. He is even born in a very fine race coming from Lord Brahma to Pulastya to Vishrava to this fellow, but he has no consideration of what line he comes from. And even then, he performed the most horrendous act, just like a Rakshasa. Since Ramachandra is speaking these words, it must mean it has value. As a sadhaka, we are guided by, just as Rupa Goswami in his Nectar of Devotion, because he is the Abhideya Acharya, Abhideya means how to conduct oneself within the domain of devotional service. There are some vidhis that how we should do. There are some nishedhas, how we should not conduct ourselves. Of course, the crowning quality is always remember Vishnu. Satatam smartavyo Vishnu. Na vismartavyo jatuchet is the instruction Upadesha Rupa Goswami has given us. And then it says Sarve Vidhi Nishedasyor Etayoreva Kinkaraha. So there are other supporting rules and regulations. They guide our bhakti life. And when one ignores them, we call it Niyamagraha. Either it's completely neglected, shattered, or so strongly followed that we forget the principle why we're doing it. So Ramachandra is saying Ravana has violated the codes of behavior. So is Niyamagraha. Then there is a sense of morality. Morality at least gives some sense of what is right, what is not right. Of course, life doesn't fall into clear buckets of black and white, but internal sense of values describe ethics and morality for us. And where do we get these values? From the sound vibration of the Guru Parampara. The immediate spiritual master represents the entire value system coming down from Krishna. That is called Parampara. And as we hear them in our heart, these sound vibrations settle and kick away, move away, vanish, not vanish, dissolve the old, perhaps wrong, worldly conceptions about life. And, and they are displaced by my receptivity. How eagerly I receive the message, to that degree, the new conceptions will displace the old conceptions. Therefore, it's called pranipata. Pranipata. I fall on the floor as an indication that I'm willing to receive. And sometimes there is a doubt. So, pariprashnena, I have to ask the right kind of questions that will help remove those conceptions. And Sevaya seals the deal. It puts a lid so that these conceptions don't leak out, because in Seva, we are living those conceptions and instructions. So they become our nature, or our innate nature is realized. So morality, certain values. Now, something in Bhakti Shastri we're taught, and I really like it in terms of the concept. What we are receiving, depending on how we are receiving it, can fall in one of three categories. One can just be skill or information. It helps me do things. For example, when I'm offering bhoga to the Lord, I should offer with a tulsi leaf. Or I should cook after taking a bath. I should clean the kitchen in this way. I should uh, play the kartal this way. Whatever it is, it's a skill. Behind the skill, if it is not properly heard, it remains just like that. But we want knowledge to inspire that skill. Knowledge. Why? Oh, cleanliness is an important aspect. There's knowledge. But that knowledge remains knowledge and doesn't help a person unless it is gone deeper and becomes value. It's value. This is what I am guided by. And values are not something that are easily given up, because it's a value system. Skill, you can forget this and pick up another skill. Values help us navigate the line when challenges come, exactly of what is the right action to do. Ramachandra says, has no sense of it. He didn't know that he should not cross a certain line. And he says pedigree. It is a constant meditation that I am representing this parampara. Not it is, it's not mine. It is something we practice, that we remember, oh, I'm this immediate link or the immediate end point of this mighty parampara of great, great acharyas. Great acharya. I'm very, very insignificant. Actually, I'm useless. But behind me is standing this mighty parampara. And I should be aware of it, and be conscious of it, be vigilant of it. So Ramachandra is showing how Ravana, that means Ravana particularly, that those who are guided by the mind. Rupa Goswami tells us, one who doesn't follow Shastra, such a person is just whimsical in their bhakti and their disturbance. Utpata eva kalpate. Yes, Shastra vidhim utsrijya. Vartate kamakarataha. They've left everything that they ignore or neglect what Shastra says and whimsically performing something. And Krishna says, na santima gacchati. They don't get any peace. They don't get to the ultimate destination. They're just a disturbance to themselves and to others. But this Ravana has fallen into the grip or the noose of death. And he alone is responsible for the entire Rakshasa race to finish. Another important lesson. My actions have reactions not just for me, but everybody around me and who are connected to me. So Ramachandra says he will have to account for his really nasty behavior. So saying this, they reached the top of the Suvela mountain. And from there, they saw Lanka. Wow. And Valmiki gives us a whole list of the Vanara army that climbed up. And from there, they are now witnessing Lanka. And as they were reached there, the sun was setting. It's an evening twilight. So the sun had set and the moon had risen into the sky. At this time, Vibhishana came and offered respects to Rama and Lakshmana. And Vibhishana, after he offered obeisances and respects, that they have reached a milestone place. From Suvela, the next stop is Lanka. So they all passed the night on the top of Suvela mountain. And they were surprised. Suvela mountain was so peaceful. No predators. No one came to attack the Vanaras. Everything was agreeable, peaceful, nice. And they're like, wow, look at all the lovely varieties of trees. And Valmiki gives a big list. Now, one may wonder why, when every little word is important in Ramayana, is only 24,000 verses. In this, he gives a list of tree names. So, according to Dharma Shastra, before you embark on something very, very significant in life, it is important to visit the great trees, the banyans, the palmyra, tamala, Nagakesara, etc. Arjuna trees, Nipa, Shala, Tilaka, Karnika, Patala, all this list is given because one should witness them, look at them, offer their respects. Then it is said that success comes. If you go back to Kishkindha when Sugriva first went in a hurry to fight and incite Vali for a duel, nothing is expressed. Sugriva just goes, gets beaten down to pulp. He comes back. Lakshmana Deva puts a garland of Gajapushpaka on him. Then, when they are going back towards where Vali is, a whole list of sacred trees are mentioned by Valmiki. That means this time he has taken on, he's gone in harmony with nature. So the list is given as a harbinger, as a message that all auspiciousness will follow Sita, Ramachandra and Lakshmana. So I'm going to skip all the details of the forests and the birds and the flowers, etc. And from there, where they had reached, they saw the Trikuta mountain on which Lanka seemed like it was hanging. Everything around it was sparkling in gold. And it seemed like it had, the Lanka was spread over an area of 100 yojanas. Everything was spick and span and shining and beautiful and resplendent and dazzling. How are we going to scale this mountain? Ravana is sitting on top of all of this. How are we going to make it there? Everyone saw it, and the Lanka has all these vimanas. Vimanas generally are called 7-story buildings. Some can fly. It says they're all scraping the sky. Hmm? Wow. It seemed like you're looking at or gazing at the peak of Kailasa. Wow. I mean, people were like amazed. They've never seen anything like this. Wow. So there's one particular verse that talks about this as being a skyscraper. And I'm trying to find this for you. If I find it, great. If not, I'm sure you will uh, read it on your own. So now, as they are standing on Suela mountain, gazing at Trikuta mountain, from there, Ramachandra was examining the army of Ravana. This is the first time Ramachandra is seeing Ravana. So as his gaze is moving, he sees Ravana. And here's a description. Mighty form, big. Followers constantly whisking the chamara fans around him. On his heads is this white, pure white umbrella because he's the king. And right there, he's standing, his body smeared with red color sandalwood paste. Now, there are two types of sandalwood, right? One is the yellow, the creamish one, and the other is the red sandalwood. Very
వాడికి
expensive.
చపాతీ
So he has
చేసేస్తాను
smeared his entire body with the red, dark. His form is dark like a blackish cloud, smeared with the reddish sandalwood paste, wearing red color ornaments. Red represents love, in this case, lust, because it is not directed towards the Lord. Hmm? His body, his clothes were also reddish in color. And every garment had golden embroidery in it. And not just golden, but gold embroidery in it. On his chest were marks and scars from Airavata fighting with him. Once he and Airavata had fought, and Airavata bore his tusks into his chest, and there are all these marks on his chest. And he looked like a mass of dark clouds. How, if you see, Valmiki is giving us the picture. So close your eyes and imagine when the sun is setting on the western horizon and there are some clouds in the sky, you see the clouds are lit up red from the sun behind. That is how Ravana looked. They all looked on. Wow, Ravana. Then Sugriva, as he is looking on, he could not tolerate this anymore. As Ramachandra is gazing, Sugriva also saw Ravana, and without any notice, without any conversation with Ramachandra, suddenly sprang up and reached right where Ravana is, came right in front of him, and he said, I am a friend and a servant of Sri Ramachandra, and I will not spare your life even for a moment. And suddenly leapt on him, scratched him like anything, threw off his helmet, his kirita, and threw Ravana to the ground. Ravana was taken by surprise. Whoa, who's this guy? And gathered his wits and said, oh, you're Sugriva, the guy with a wonderful neck. I'm going to break your neck right now. Saying this, Ravana got up and caught Sugriva and flung him to the ground so strongly that Sugriva started bouncing like a ball. All is copied in movies, but this is the Sugriva was bouncing like a ball. And Sugriva recovered, picked up Ravana, and then dashed him to the ground. Their entire bodies, Sugriva's and Ravana's, were completely sweating. They were tangled in a tight wrestling grip with each other, not just arms, but almost like they're embracing, so tightly caught up. And they were hitting each other so badly that both their bodies were covered red in blood. And sometimes they would stand motionless because they're exerting pressure on each other like that, and they're waiting. Clothing looked like the red kimshuka flowers because it's full of blood. Then sometimes when they were dueling with each other, they would they would punch, they would slap with each other, they would hit each other with their elbows, sometimes scratch with their fingers. The wrestling went on for a long time, and Ramachandra from there is looking aghast. What is going on? He's worried for his dear friend. Then they held each other with their embraces and squeezed each other as if to take their breath away, to kill them that way, to uh, what's it called, to choke and suffocate each other. They punched, they fell to the ground, they got up again, and they're constantly pushing and shoving as if two mighty champions are trying to fight with each other. They were punching each other's chest, they were pushing. They looked like wild animals in the forest. Hmm? Valmiki says one looked like a tiger, the other looked like a lion, and they're fighting. Or they looked like two mighty elephants who were trying to find who's the greater among them or between them. With all this wrestling and fighting, they were so exhausted. Yet, they did not find any exhaustion because what was inspiring them, the adrenaline, was so strong that they are pushing each other. And so Valmiki gives so much description. Sugriva and Ravana were both very skillful in wrestling. And expertly they were moving in ways to combat the other. They were moving in circles. Sometimes they would stand in very different postures. Uh, if you've seen any of the karate movies or any of the, you get an idea of one stands this way, the other stands that way, and they're posturing at each other. Sometimes they held each other and moved in a curved line, and Valmiki says like the uh, the form you get when an ox that is moving and urinating. It's a zigzag like this. Sometimes they would move forward, sometimes backward. They would give each other blows on their faces, chest, arms, sometimes obliquely moving, sometimes encircling each other. Sometimes they leapt like frogs. They stood facing each other angrily, their heads butting with each other as if two rams are ramming into each other, stretching their arms to reach out to the other fellow. And this wrestling was way too much. Finally, Sugriva uh, was strong that he completely mesmerized Ravana. Took a deep breath, became energized, and flung back into the air and came and stood right next to Ramachandra, where Ravana was exhausted and looking at like, wow. Suddenly he was attacked, right? When he came back, Ramachandra looked at Sugriva and was shocked and saw on Sugriva's body all the marks from the fight. So Ramachandra tightly embraced Sugriva. And in his love for Sugriva, chastised him. He said, Sugriva, you exposed yourself and me, Vibhishana, this entire Vanara army to such a risk. How could you do something like this? Do you realize you are the king? Now, this is Ramachandra's humility. Although Ramachandra is the main leader, he's saying to Sugriva, you are the king. And in a game of chess or in a war, if the king dies, there is no war. It's done. You jumped and put yourself and all of us at risk. Please never do something like that again. Please don't be so rash. If something had happened to you, what would I do? I would not have any meaning in life. There would be no meaning in going and bringing Sita back. There is no meaning in me going back to be with Bharata, Lakshmana, Shatrughna. Even my own life would have no meaning, Sugriva. Because Ramachandra, when talking about Vibhishana, told Sugriva that in this entire world, he so told him, Tata, my dear, dear, dear friend, there is no brother better than Bharata. There is no son better than me. And there is no friend better than you in this entire world. So please don't do like this, Sugriva. You pretty much almost my now this is my language, that my heart was in my throat. Just I was shocked. What would happen to you? If I lost a friend, I would have no meaning. I would have to just leave my body and kill myself. Life would have no meaning. Bharata would have been the king of Ayodhya, and like this, uh, please don't do it. So Sugriva said, when I saw Ravana, it came to me so strongly that that fellow, vile, wretched fellow, took away Sita Devi from you. How can I just leave him like that? So Ramachandra applauded and appreciated Sugriva's love. Hmm? So Ramachandra told, here's what we're going to do. Let's find a place where all of us, all of the monkeys specifically, have enough water to drink, nice fruits to eat, and we'll divide ourselves into a certain array that we can go and fight with this Rakshasa and his armies. And then he told Lakshmana, look, Lakshmana, Sugriva, Vibhishana, everywhere in the sky and surrounding us are all the indicators that we have auspicious signs that will lead us. And I'm confident that we will be victorious and Ravana will not be. Yet, we should not forget that Ravana is a very, very mighty warrior. And we should not take ourselves lightly. Saying this, now all of them came down back from the Suvela mountaintop. and now has much better idea of what that army looks like. Uh, so as Ramachandra came down, Vibhishana, Sugriva, Hanuman, Jambavan, Nala, Nila, Lakshmana, they all followed him down from the mountain. As Ramachandra is surveying this mighty army that is stretching out to so vast distances. Then Ramachandra said, from here on, we are marching to Lanka. Saying so, Ram and Lakshmana as the leaders, the entire army followed Sri Ramachandra. And that army reached Lanka and laid siege to the kingdom, as was previously decided. Ramachandra, Lakshmana went to the northern gate. Hanuman was on the western gate. And the other chiefs that were given their assignments and the long list of mighty warriors is given. Each of their strengths is described, and they're all waiting to get into the gates of Lanka. And I'm looking at uh, where they're entering. So Ramachandra gives the war cry, inspiring his entire Vanara army that we will all enter Lanka. We will fight the Rakshasas. We have great powers with us. We have the great blessings. We will crush this army. We will all be strong. We will all be gallant. We will remain fixed in our goal. And we will all come back victorious. So they entered Lanka. And when they entered Lanka, Ramachandra saw Ravana again. Now this time, as they're entering, Angada, after all, Sugriva did it, Angada also sees Ravana. Angada goes to Ravana and delivers a message from Sri Ramachandra. Angada says, Dutoham Koshalendrasya Ramasya Aklishtakarmanaha Valiputro Angado Nama Yadite Shotramagataha. I am the son of the great mighty Vali. More importantly, Dutoham. I am the messenger of Koshalendrasya, the king of Koshala region, Sri Ramachandra. Ramasya, Aklishta Karmana. Any activity that Ramachandra does, whether it is fighting you, Ravana, your army, destroying the Rakshasas, destroying the entire universe, is Aklishta Karmana. Does it easily. There is no effort required. And I have come to give you a message. Now he says Vali Putro, because it is a reminder to Ravana, hey, you may think you're very strong, but my father held you under his armpit and took you and dipped you in all the oceans around the universe. So don't think you're someone great. He says, you, Ravana, have proven yourself to be a complete useless, ruthless fellow. I will kill you, kill all of your followers, and destroy your Lanka. I will uproot. I will uproot you from here. Unless you return Sita, you have a last chance. Unless you return Sita after offering her due respect and then bowing down respectfully to me. Ramachandra's message is to Ravana, return Sita with respect, offer your obeisances to me, or you will be fully killed and Vibhishana will become the king of Lanka. Ravana became so upset. Immediately ordered for Angada to be caught and seized. So, as soon as that order was given, four Rakshasas jumped to catch Angada. Angada looked like a blazing fire, and before they could do anything, Angada allowed himself to be captured. And these four Rakshasas, they thought they caught Angada, and they were bringing him towards Ravana when Angada shook himself so violently that the four Rakshasas flew away. And Angada stood there looking on. And Ravana was like, wow, who's this young little prince, Angada? Then Angada went to the top of Ravana's palace that looked like a mighty peak. And Angada hit the palace roof with such strength that the palace roof just caved in. While Ravana is just gazing in shock. Then Angada roared loudly and rose up into the sky and came back to where Sri Ramachandra is. Ravana became so angry. How dare he? Not only Sugriva, how dare this little tiny young fellow upstart come in and trash my palace like this? Hmm? So then the fighting continues. I'm going to skip a bunch. And at this point, the war has begun. They're all yelling, shouting, roaring, and moving to fight with each other. And we will stop at chapter end of chapter 51. And let's see if there are any comments, questions, thoughts, or something. After we finish our session, please stay on. I have something to ask all of you, but let's see if there are any comments or questions now. Okay, seems like nothing. Thank you very much. Shishi Sita.